And we're ready to rock and roll. Okay, so we talked yesterday about this particular question, and I said flat out, this is a tough question. So let's go over it now, and then after we're done with this, we're going to graph using this y equals mx plus b formula, which you probably saw from last year. The first thing we're going to do is find some slopes. Then we're going to write equations of lines and figure out where everything stands. And then we're going to graph a couple of lines. And that is today's lesson, okay? I don't think it's a particularly difficult lesson, but we do need to end with about 5 minutes left in the period. So the class ends at 52, which means we need to be done about 46 or 47, and then we'll be ready to go. Nobody else is going out to the bathroom. It's too late, right? You were inside the cafeteria the whole period. Go then. And then when we get done with our lesson, you can go at that point in time if you finish your quiz. All right, so, Carmen, am I going to have to do you with your books what I do to kids with cell phones when I take them when you walk in the room? Right? It's time for work. Math work, not English work. English is great stuff. I don't mind that you read, but I do mind when you read so much that you don't learn the math lesson. That's the problem. All right, so what we see here is we see a line, this line right here, and the line has a particular slope to it, and so too do these lines. So the bottom line is that here is a triangle, and there's slopes to each of the lines, and we take a look at what happens here. And I notice that it goes from 0,2 to 0,10. So how long do we think that line is right there? 8. Good. Right? The zero's staying the same, but you're going from 2 to 8, which means you're going up a distance of 10. And here, the 10s are staying the same. You're going from 0 to x. So how far have you gone? You're going from 0 to x. How far have you gone? No, if it was from 0 to 0, you would have gone 0. Chris? X.
That's the wrong one.
Yeah, that was from yesterday.
No, it wasn't even from yesterday.
Well, it's the sheet I have for today. I might not have changed the numbers in the diagram. What are your numbers? And I'll change them now.
12.
Hold on, 0, 2, this is 0, 12?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
And so this is 12, and what's here?
9, 15.
0, 15, and
9:15.
9, 15. Okay, so that means that we have to make one adjustment here. This is still x, but this is going to be 2 to 12 makes 10. Okay, so not only do we have that little red triangle, but we also have this bigger blue triangle. Now, what I want you to keep in mind here is that the slope of the blue line and the slope of the red line are the same exact slope, because it's the same exact line. And until you change direction on that line, the slope stays the same. It could go on forever and ever and ever. Rach, and that slope, wait a minute, that slope will absolutely be there, okay? So, if I look at the blue line, I'm going from 2 to 15. So how far did that go? 13. And I'm going from 0 to 9. So how far did this go? 9. Okay, so 8, if I look at the slope here, we've got 8. I'm going to go 8 to x. I'm going to go up 8 over x. And then in the blue triangle, I'm going to go up 13 over 9. And what we're going to do now is cross multiply. 13 times x is 13x. 9 times 8 is 72. Divide by 13. And this one's ugly because 13 doesn't go into it evenly.
Isn't it 10, not 8?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's 10. Yes, I'm sorry, I misread my writing. So that makes this 90. And 90 divided by 13 still doesn't go in evenly. It goes in 6 times. And 6 times 13 is 60, and 18 is 78. So it's 6 and 12/13. Now, I'm not too worried about the fact, if you got to the point where you had 90 over 13, you're doing fantastic, okay? Usually they're gonna work out to be whole numbers, and one, like, if you had this on a state assessment test or something, or a final exam, we would let you use a calculator to do the work with the fraction, okay? All right, are there any questions about that guy? Okay, what do you think is going to be to do it on Monday?
Same thing.
Same thing, numbers changed again. I think the next one, they work the same. In fact, they're probably going to be the numbers that I have up here. Okay, so y equals mx plus b. We've been leading up to this the last few days, and this is unbelievably important. If I had to list this year the 5 most important things you're going to learn, one of the 5 is how to solve equations. We've already done that one. Scientific notation is kind of important, but it's not on that list of top 5. The next thing on the list of top 5 is this. Super huge. I don't know if equations are more important or this is more important. They're both super important. Probably equations slightly more important. Y equals mx plus b. Now, what you need to understand from this is a couple of things. First off, we've been hinting at this the last few days. M stands for slope, and it's how you move. Okay? And B stands for the y-intercept. Now, in football, what does it mean when you intercept the pass? Right, like the offensive team is throwing it from the quarterback toward one of their receivers, and the defensive guy cuts in front and grabs it. Right? Okay. So we're going to have to keep that in mind in a couple of minutes. And the reason we use a B is because it's where you begin. Now, sometimes kids think this B stands for where you begin. It is where you begin, but it doesn't stand for that. It stands for the y-intercept. Very, very, very important. Okay, so let's take a look at the pictures below, and let's take a look at these lines, and let's see if on each line we can label M and B. Now, the really cool thing is that I think the B is even easier to label than the M. All you have to do to label the B, what is the B called again? It's the what? It's where you begin, but what's it really called? The y-intercept. It just means where the y-axis intercepts the line, where it grabs the line. So in this case, the y-intercept is right here. Everybody on your paper, make a dot there. Now what I want to do is count where that is on the y-axis. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. So B is 8.
What?
That's all I got to do. That's how easy B is to find. Now, all of the people who did a really good job on the first part of today's quiz, on the first page, and there were a number of people who kicked butt on the first page, not so good on the second page. If you're one of those people, then you can answer the next question. What is the slope of this line? I'm going to go from here to here to here to here. What's that slope? First, is it up or down?
Down.
Down. So it's going to be a negative. And what over what? Everybody. 1 over 2. Good. So then our equation for this line would be y equals negative 1/2 x plus 8. Remember, the general equation of a line is y equals mx plus b. Since the slope is negative 1/2, you just did that right here. I put the negative 1/2, I substitute it, I put it into the m place, and the y-intercept, right here, I put it into the b place. So it's negative 1/2 x plus 8, putting the y-intercept into the b. Okay? Now, let's take a look at this next line here. What is the y-intercept of that line? Rach?
How do I explain it?
All I want's a number.
1.
Yep. Look, here's 0, 0. It goes through here. What's the y value at that point? Everybody, what's the y value at that point? 1. It's where it cuts across or intercepts the y-axis. Next, what's the slope? Everybody?
1 over 1.
1 over 1, which you could just write 1 if you wanted to. That's fine. So the equation of the line is y equals, then it's mx plus b. Now the x is always going to stay there. What's the m again? What's the slope? 1. So I could put a 1 there, or I could put 1 over 1, or I could just leave it blank, because when there's no number in front of the x, what do we assume it is? 1. Plus, now what's the y-intercept? You labeled it. What is it? It's 1. So the answer is y equals x plus 1, or y equals 1x plus 1. Or y equals 1 over 1 x plus 1. Yes?
So let's say there's like 3 over 3, would that be?
You could reduce it to 1, sure. Okay. And the next one, let's take a look here. What's the y-intercept? Negative 2, good. What is the slope? What's the slope, guys? Take a look. Everybody. Come on, look, what's the slope? How many am I going from point to point to point? What am I doing? Up 1 over 1. Good, so it's 1. Hey, don't those two lines look parallel? Do you remember what parallel means? It's like railroad tracks, right? They go on forever and ever and ever, the same distance apart, and they never touch. Right? You with me on that? All right, that's what railroad tracks are. Parallel lines look like railroad tracks. They stay the same distance apart all the time. Never get further, never get closer. So in this case, notice when the slopes are the same, they look like railroad tracks. They're parallel. In a couple of days, we'll have a lesson all about that. We're not ready for it yet, but it's worth noting while it's here. All right, so let's give the equation of this green line. Y equals, what's the slope again? Come on, Ethan, head the game. What's the slope, everybody? 1 over 1, or just 1x. And then what's the y-intercept?
-2.
-2. Don't write plus -2. Just write that it's -2. Okay, we don't want to write two symbols in a row. That is tacky, we don't do that. All right, so let's go to the last one here. What's the y-intercept of this line? I don't think it's 5.
-6.
Yeah, it's definitely negative. That's why I knew it wasn't 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Y-intercept's -6. What's the slope going to be?
Up 1 over 3.
Yep, up 1 over 3, good. So now, what's the equation of the line? Y equals 1 over 3
X
x. A lot of kids forget the x, don't forget the x. 1 over 3x, and then what do I put?
minus
-6. Very good. Okay? Now, not only is it possible to, God bless, look at the line and figure out the equation, it's also possible, if I give you the equation, to graph the line. In fact, it's a really cool way to graph a line. Let's take a moment and step back a little bit, okay? In the spaces below, write what M and B stand for and what they do. M stands for? Slope. And it is how you move. Good. B stands for y-intercept. And it is where you begin. Excellent. All right, now I'm going to help you with the first one here, and then you're going to do the next two with the partner that you're sitting next to. Okay? Y equals 1/2 x plus 2. I look at this line and I say to myself, okay, what are M and B? Taking a look at that, what is the slope? Guys, you got to look here. Ms. Whitnebin, looking at this, what's the slope? Remember, it's y equals mx plus b. M is slope, right? So the slope is whatever's in front of the x. What's in front of the x? What number is in front of the x? Just read it.
2.
No.
Okay, 1/2.
1/2, good. Now, what's the y-intercept? Ethan, what do we get for the y-intercept there? Guys, look, we always come back to this. Ready? Take a peek. Y equals mx plus b. The m is the guy in front of the x. What does m stand for? Slope. The b is the guy at the end. What does the b stand for?
y-intercept.
Y-intercept. So take a look, Ethan. What is the y-intercept? Good, which is what in this problem? Y equals 1/2 x plus 2. What is the value of b? Good. So the y-intercept is 2. So now all I do to graph this guy is I just begin. That's what's so important about the b. I begin at 2. So this is 0, 0 where the lines meet. So there's 2. So I make a nice big dot on 2. Everybody do that? Nice big dot on 2. Now, how do I move? The way the slope tells me.
Go up 1 over 2.
That's right. I go up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. And I can also fill it in backwards here. And there is my graph of y equals 1/2 x plus 2. Okay? That's all you got to do to graph a line. All you need to do is recognize M and B, begin at the y-intercept, move according to the slope. Okay? Any questions? All right, now there's 2 more for you to do, line B and line C, and I want you to talk to somebody you're sitting around and work those out together. Go ahead, do that.
because if it was a positive, it would be the plus sign. So that would be some negative.
Let me see your graphs. Graphs, we're done, I'll let you go.
Like this.
Hit them up.
So it goes two over two.
Okay. Next one up, ready? Let's take a look at line B. What's the slope on line B? Nice. Which is really negative 2 over 1. We don't bother writing the over 1 usually, but it is over 1. Any whole number is always over 1. What's the y-intercept? Negative 4, very good. So I touch at negative 4, here it is. How do I move?
Down 2 over 2.
Down 2 over 1.
Oh.
That's the importance of realizing that the 1's in the denominator. Down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, and then I can go backwards. When you go backwards, just make sure you keep the line straight. And I have y equals negative 2x minus 4. Questions? Preguntas? No? Okay, let's go to the next one. Y equals negative 5/3 x plus 7. What's the slope?
Negative 5x.
Negative 5/3, good. What's the y-intercept? 7, excellent. So where do I begin? I begin at 7. Because that's what the y-intercept is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How do I move? That, you do it better than I do. How do I move? What does negative mean? Negative means what, guys? Down. Down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Over 1, 2, 3. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Over 1, 2, 3. It's kind of like push-ups, right? 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 2. Mountain climbers. Jumping jacks. Y equals negative 5/3 x plus 7. Any questions? Yes?
Will we get it wrong if we don't put the thing above the line?
Oh, the name of the line on it like that?
No, like, you put the y equals 5 to like y equals
Yeah, I call that the equation of the line or the name of the line. You should write it on it that, because I'm often going to have you do 2 or 3 on the same axis to save space. That way we know which one is which. Okay, we are officially done for today. What does M stand for? What's B stand for? Y-intercept. It's where you begin, but it's not what it stands for. It stands for y-intercept.
We do the rest for homework.
Yes, the rest of the sheet for homework. Now, if you got a